Okay, so I'm not gonna start over.
No, you're all right.
All right. We still started at 6:03, button pushing in between.
Gustafson, there you go, it's also on there.
Yeah, I'm here.
I need to write it down because I gotta keep minutes. Okay, it's a sad job if somebody's gonna do it. Okay, so roll call is now new business. We have two items on our agenda. Like, supposed we can talk to them together. They're both related, but first one is rules and procedure to consider a procedure to censor. And the other one is to have a sergeant of arms. Let's talk about the censure first.
Harry,
Yep,
I realize that Robert's rules does address censure. My thought is that we could cite Robert's rules as what we are going to go by. And my thought is that it will make it easier. People would just have to look at our rules and know what is going on rather than try to finagle with Robert's rules. The other thing that I'm not quite clear on, and maybe the clerk can help, should we have a definite number of times that that a representative either breaks the rules or whatever, which would mean that would also have to be included when we cited Robert's rules.
you asking Betsy that? No.
Yeah,
Okay, well, Robert's Rules has more than one thing to say about censure. And of course, the representative town meeting current rules, and every rule that I can remember, does state if we don't have a rule in the RTM rules, then we refer to Robert's Rules. So essentially, Robert's Rules is incorporated as the RTM's rules.
okay, all right.
Okay. So,
We made it a point as a rules committee to put that in the preamble, as I recall.
that's right.
Yes, we did. I remember that.
I'm gonna, are you done, Jackie? Because I was gonna say one thing.
Yeah, no, I'm done.
I was gonna say that I talked to Tom Hennick today of FOI, and I basically, he's a pretty good sounding board. Of course, he's FOI. I
Right.
can't believe he's still around. He's been around forever.
Semi-retired.
Huh?
He's
Is that-
semi-retired, yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna retire soon, but his comment was that there's nothing against FOI, and basically his comment about our rule 3.3 was, it says it all, so and it does. If you want me to read it, I can read it. I'm
No,
sure
no,
everybody's read it.
no, that's fine. That's fine. I'm good with that.
Basically, we have a rule that addresses disorderly conduct, and they can be removed by act of the moderator.
Okay. All right. That works.
Pretty
It
quiet.
works for
Nobody
me.
has I can recognize anybody I want as well.
Yeah, I guess clarifying the thought that Representative Massett had. So you wanted a number of times to trigger a censure, essentially.
Yes.
Yeah. Interesting. I wouldn't be supportive of that, but like an automatic censure as opposed to, calling it out to the floor and putting it forward.
Okay, so you, just to clarify, you would like it done, if, for instance, I feel that someone, is not acting the way that they should act, along with rising to a point of order and stating why I've risen to a point of order, would I also ask for censure at that point? See, that's why I think we might need a specific number. Cause.
I think you can, sorry.
Go
I don't
ahead,
mean to
go
jump
ahead,
in.
that's what, it's gonna be somewhat formal, we're not gonna
yeah.
be done.
I think that censure is a very formal process, should remain a formal process, and there's one in Robert's rules. So if you rise to a point of order and say, I think, we should call a censure vote, that's all there is and all there needs
Okay,
to be.
all
I
right.
don't think anything additional would need to be added,
Okay,
nor do I think it should be triggered automatically, because I think that could be weaponized if it was censure points out on the floor and you're rising, 3 people have risen to a point and now it's an automatic censure, and then you take away individual members' abilities to actually vote towards a censure, whether or not they think it's appropriate. Because you can get a heated
Okay.
argument and get people rising, as opposed to one individual doing something very heinous and deserving that censure right off the bat.
all right, thank you.
Yeah, if you don't
Point
mind,
is
I
well
just
taken.
Go ahead, Betsy.
remembering that everybody really is there for the same reason, is to do the best for the town. And people do get heated. And recently we've had personalities and, during the election, I think things got a little heated. And I don't think anybody meant any harm. But feelings got hurt. I know that. I know feelings got hurt. So I think that if everybody takes a deep breath, and we're all really supposed to, and I know we all are on the same sides of what's going on, but to the point that if you go too far and you rise to a point of order and you just, even though the moderator has agreed with the point of order and has asked the member to sit down and they don't, that's a problem. When you're on Zoom, it's easy. You just, the
Well, yeah,
moderator
right,
can
you just
just
hit- you just
can
cut
just
them off,
mute
yeah.
them. Yeah, and it's, or even remove them.
But the moderator can call a recess and have the person removed.
Absolutely. And
Okay,
that's used often, is a recess, and then it's cleared.
Not to steal Harry's thunder here, but
You're not
to,
stealing my thunder, right?
oh,
It's all our
to
thunder.
segue into the next point. I mean, like you said, feelings got hurt, but I don't think having your feelings hurt levels is the same as feeling threatened enough to need a sergeant at arms
Right,
at our meetings.
right.
I think that is,
Pretty
it's horrible that it's happening at the town council. It's
Yes,
disgusting that
yes.
it's spilling into our meetings.
But it's happened before at the town council. We've had police there, but it's been years, 30 years.
Right.
Walt Conley used to be there. He was at the county.
Yes.
so-
So requested him to.
Yes, that's right. But it was because some of the people speaking.
Yeah, it was
To the
citizens
council.
petitions. It
Right,
wasn't-
it wasn't sure. Yeah.
Right. I mean, and all he did was come to meetings and sit in the back of the room, and it kind of like, changed the atmosphere a bit.
He's a big guy. He was a big guy.
If I could jump in just a little bit, I mean, one of the only concern that I have with anything is that there's always some sense of due process. And one of the problems with the idea of like a automatic censure trigger is that there would be no opportunity for a defense. And reading Robert's rules on the disciplinary procedures and various options and variations of those options. One thing this book emphasizes repeatedly and, repeatedly and thoroughly is that every opportunity to the accused must be afforded to defend their position. And so, that I think, is something we all need to keep in mind is that, we need to operate with a sense of fair play and due process. And, again, yeah, we did put the disclaimer, so to speak, on the preamble of the rules this year or this term. And with the idea of anything that is not covered in these rules would default automatically to Robert's rules. So I think, the opportunity to initiate a censure move, if someone wants to go there, is already here. But in order to do that through this book and these procedures, there is a very formal process that needs to be, one, at first discussed, delineated, determined, and then initiated.
You said exactly what you're speaking of.
Um,
It's important that we
61.
all
Yeah.
have the exact same.
Sure,
Right.
basically 61, section
Yeah.
61, chapter 20,
Yeah,
and
is the food stuff.
is dealing with offenses, which is 61, colon 6, I guess, or
Oh,
whatever.
well, 20 is pretty
Yeah.
heavy duty.
And then,
6 principles governing discipline at a meeting. Is that what you're saying?
Mhm.
Because
Dealing with, yeah, offenses in a meeting.
and then, all throughout that chapter.
Yeah,
there's
I just want to make sure that everybody kind of knows where you're speaking.
No, that's fair.
If you're.
So yeah, I mean, like, whatever
This whole
comes
chapter.
of this discussion, I think, like that needs to be at the heart of it. We can't just have, autocratic determinations of things.
Could also come up with a pledge that every member signs that adheres to
Behave yourself.
Well,
the
isn't that covered by the
decorum
pledge,
written
the
by
swearing?
your
We
rules.
swear
We
in,
swear-
we
we
swear
swear
in.
in.
But you do,
So
you do swear to it, but no one
Right.
signed anything.
Jackie, what? You want to say something?
No, I was just going to say that from my own personal opinion is that when I am sworn in as an RTM member, I swear that I'm gonna follow the rules. I mean, I think that's something we all know.
If I may,
Go ahead.
if anything, perhaps we would need a rule to call a recess and have our parliamentarian who is supposed, the moderator, town clerk is our parliamentarian, right? Have a rule that a member can ask for that, call a recess and actually look through these, because I think, not to speak for Representative Thomas, but one of the issues raised in the previous meeting was that he does not feel he was afforded an opportunity to go through his whole process. And I don't know the actual citations off the top of my head, but he was trying to make another point, even in the heat of the discussion. If we were to actually want to do this as respectful, responsible adults, instead of a sergeant at arms, we should have a rule that it automatically calls a recess, the parliamentarian and the moderator and whatever aggrieved parties can stop and sit and look through the actual process and go through the order. And then that way people feel there's due process, they feel heard. It maybe rules the moment,
Don't we have I'm remembering from the town council is something can be disputed and then the council would recess and the rules committee of the council would actually.
Yes.
Do we do that too?
Well, you
Yes.
can, but what you really should do is bring it to a vote of the body. You shouldn't
Right.
ever make it the decision of.
Absolutely, absolutely. That was the way with the council
Yeah.
too, though.
Yep.
Where, he did, there's a dispute and we can't resolve it. We're all kind of arguing, whatever else, and your recess in the rules committee actually meets there on the spot.
Yeah,
Would do the same, you get to the same end.
I don't think that ever happened while I was there.
On
but,
council?
yeah, while I was there.
I don't remember it happening when I was there
No, because
either.
the points of order that were made were either denied or accepted and on they went,
Right,
I mean, I don't know how. I mean, we're all going to disagree. We're all going to go home to our families. We're all volunteers. And if we disagree with somebody, we need to respect them and let them voice their opinion unless they're unruly and are breaking rules, I suppose you might say. As much as you don't want to listen to somebody you totally disagree with. No, that's part of the process.
Yeah, and I often feel that people bringing points of order are not that you don't want to hear what they're saying. That's to, you could call the question for that. But points of order are, you're on a subject and your person veers off and starts talking about
Right.
another subject. That's a point of order because you're off your order.
Yeah, you shouldn't say point of order because you disagree with somebody. You don't want
Right.
to listen to.
Or
what
you don't
they're
want to
Right.
listen to it.
Right.
You move the
Everybody has to
question
say-
and end the debate.
However, if I could jump in there, I mean, to that end, I mean, to talk, if it's not inappropriate, I could talk specifically about that situation, because, you know, it was speaking to a larger point. You know, I think there should be, there has been historically some more leeway given to members to speak when they spoke to a point. The idea of being on topic. I remember watching RTM, you know, for a good couple of years before I got involved, and many members would kind of take tangential turns, you know, sharing an analogy or some sort of allegory or using an extended metaphor to kind of show their insight into whatever argument they're trying to make regarding their overall point. And, you know, people allowed for that to happen. You know, they had 5 minutes per turn or 10 minutes total to speak, and people gave them that. There's one member in particular who, you know, everyone knew as soon as he got up that, you know, he was going to go on for probably max time, you know, but people allowed for it, and there were no points of order thrown around. So, you know, in that particular situation, that's what I was trying to communicate, was that, you know, I would like to be able to participate in the body in that way, because, you know, some of my favorite professors in college would often start doing their lecture. I don't know, you know Steve Jones, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, so he was well known for taking this massively scenic route with his lectures, where he would like start talking about one thing, you know, it'd be like Richard III, we're doing Shakespeare, and next thing you know, we're talking about shellfish, and then the next thing you know, we're talking about schooners and then rum runners, and then somehow it all comes back to Richard III an hour and a half later. It's like, boom, you know, and the drawings that he put on the board were fantastic. But, you know, and I think, you know, we're losing something if we don't allow for a little bit of latitude when it comes to discussing points. And yes, like,
But how do we get somebody back on topic?
Right.
He's saying that sometimes the topic, it'll take, like he just illustrated. He gave an analogy about his professor.
Yeah.
That was off topic in.
Right, you just did it.
yeah,
It's the
exactly.
Christmas holiday.
I just made a point without speaking to the
Make your
point.
point.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
The
Yeah.
problem with the RTM, and it's not a problem, but we are a body of 39 people.
Mhm.
If every single person were allowed to take that long way around, we would never get anything done, especially during the budget
See the
season.
sunrise.
So we have to have a way of keeping people on topic.
Mhm.
And
Hopefully
yeah.
people can keep themselves on topic. I mean, that's ultimately the goal. People are respectful and they stay on topic.
Right.
When people don't do that, then there might be a point of order, or I may say, we need to get back on topic.
Maybe you need a
Is it
different
covered
way.
in Roberts?
You need a
It
different
is.
way than everybody shouting out point of order. I've never been on a board or anything before where I've heard the point of order said so many times. I can't believe how many times it's said.
Well, and maybe I need to take blame on that and say, you know, I tend to let people kind of talk their way out, but I think that people are, you know, need to be reined in. So maybe I need to just
I
start
think
calling
part
it a
of-
little bit
I
more
think
often.
part of the issue is some people don't want certain people to be able to speak as much as others. They might be comfortable letting them speak. You know what I'm saying? And that's when it becomes personal and not what it should be. I
Well,
don't
I
know.
try not to make things personal. I mean, I really try to give people their time to talk, but if we're way off topic, then I get why people call point of order.
Right, yes.
Yeah, if you're talking about a bond ordinance, you don't want to hear what color socks somebody has on. You know?
True.
Oh, maybe.
Not like,
You know,
those are some pretty nice socks.
Yeah. We can talk about oysters. Right.
I
Yeah,
can relate
yeah, I
anything
think-
back to
I think
oysters.
that, I think what you just said was exactly right, Harry. It's a matter of, you've got 39 people and certain people are a little more vocal than others.
Mhm.
And I can remember serving on the RTM and having this gentleman, he had something to say about everything, and he'd always take 10 minutes sometimes. I mean,
Mhm.
wow, and you just end up tuning them out.
Yeah, but if he stays on topic and the 10 minutes is within the rules,
Maybe, but it was,
that's-
grated on your ears and you.
Perhaps that
But-
could just be a
Not like I was being
reminder.
lectured all the time,
You
you
know,
know?
Sorry, I'm not hearing you.
It could just be a reminder at the beginning of meetings,
Like,
stay on
keep going,
topic
yeah.
and point of orders
I
are
don't like to be lectured.
not personal. I don't want to hear yous. It cuts both ways.
Or perhaps maybe encouraging people that if they're going to use an analogy to announce the analogy.
Oh, good idea. I'm gonna use an analogy now.
that's
Yeah.
not bad.
I mean, which I will gladly do if I'm going to choose to use that tool.
Just gonna ask everybody to keep them to a minimum.
Yeah,
Minimum.
yeah. I
Because
mean, you.
39 people
Well, I
times
can
5.
remember running
It's-
public hearings, and I'm doing an analogy now.
Mhm.
Okay, I can remember running public hearings and deciding, well, I'm gonna give everybody 3 minutes. If nobody complains about it, and I say that, they all agree to it. But then also say, you know what, if you're speaker number 12 and 3 other people have already said what you want to say, you can just get up
Right.
and say, I agree with speaker 2, 4, and 7. You should really do that and then sit down. Otherwise, if you give everybody 3 minutes and there's
Mhm.
74 people in the room.
It doesn't,
it's-
yeah. Somebody said it, it may have been you, that, we don't need to know how you're going to vote, just vote.
Yeah, if you support somebody, just
Well, I mean,
vote the way they.
we
Right.
could give people the opportunity to speak again at the end after they use up their time too. You can speak a second time, just wait around. You got your 3 minutes, time to move on to somebody else.
But to that end, though, I mean, granted, it is 39 people, but not all 39 people are always going to speak on every subject.
I know.
Right, and yeah, like, I don't speak on every subject either. There's some, that I just speak with my vote.
Look around, you speak a fair amount of
I
time.
do.
You do too. You kind of make points here and there. You don't speak a real lot, but you do make your points and you speak once in a while. I don't speak very much at all.
Only when you have to.
Huh?
Only when you have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
if
I mean,
it's-
if I wanted to speak more, I should have the opportunity to do that. Except not what color socks I have.
Unless somehow
Except you
can
need
tie
to
it-
stay on topic. You would
Okay,
need
so
to stay
where-
on
where-
topic, Harry.
Committee, where are we going with this? What are we going to come back to the RTM and say? Are we going to do nothing? Are we going to talk about it? Are we going to talk about it again at another meeting?
No,
Uh,
I think that because we did make in the preamble, we did say we would defer to Robert's rules, then it should stay just the way it is. No action.
Yeah, the procedure for censure is according to Robert's rules.
Right.
Period.
Well,
This falls under rule 3.3.
I heard our moderator say something here tonight that I kind of like too. I think the reminder up front, just as part of your casual, no rule to say it or anything else, and don't draw analogies or anything, just say it.
What you gotta say?
No,
We're
no,
going to draw an analogy.
I mean, when you say what you're gonna say, don't draw an analogy to your grandfather doing something,
One thing maybe, for the moderator to consider is, the rule 8.7 that does allow for a person who's been, called out on a point of order to defend themselves, to defend that point.
I like
Maybe
that.
moving
I like
forward.
that actually. I mean, because I think somebody should defend the rule of order because I think people are really doing it because they don't agree with the person or they don't like them or.
As someone who's been point of ordered a number of times, I can tell you that it does feel like sometimes there's an ulterior motive. I'm not questioning the motives. I'm just saying it feels like that to me.
Well, the moderator could just ask that person to explain.
Right, but in the rules, we already have it written where
It-
8.7 says that the moderator is, I forget the exact phrasing.
It says, if any member in speaking or otherwise transgresses the rule of order of the RTM, the moderator shall call them to order. The member will be allowed to justify their act or discussion. Then, if accepted by the moderator, they will continue. If not, they will be seated.
Right, so that sentence there, be allowed to justify their act for discussion. So that's, that's what I think we've been missing, a little bit. With all due respect, it did. The points of order have come out, but like the people who have been charged as violating the order have not been allowed to say, well, this is why I think it's germane to the topic. And then you can either accept or reject, and then that would be a person's time to say, okay,
Perfect.
well,
Relay this.
I had a chance to
Alright.
defend my point, and, it doesn't pass the float test, so I'm done. Or it
Okay.
does pass the test and I carry on.
Like I said, we have a pretty strong rule in 3.3. I personally have a lot of faith on the moderator being able to do that, and she'll do it. I mean,
I
that's,
do too, yes.
maybe this is a reminder that rule is there, I suppose, if nothing else.
I have a hope that I will never have to ask somebody to leave the meeting.
Well, and the step after that is.
But
to
don't
call
be
the
afraid to
police.
use it if you have to.
So to that end, sorry, that's giving my son this Tylenol. He got his tonsils out today. Sergeant at Arms, that
Yeah,
resolve
that's
that?
Sergeant at Arms, that's
That's
next.
true.
I was gonna say, does that resolve the question of
I don't think we need a Sergeant at Arms.
having a police
I
officer?
don't think we do
I've
either.
done some reading about Sergeant, our Senate and Legislature both have a Sergeant of Arms, but I mean, they do a lot of things like greet people at the door and,
Right.
set up tables and do all that kind of
So
stuff.
you're also there, can be
Yeah,
directed
it's
to
ceremonial.
remove someone. but
I never
definitely
did
It's
just,
also for-
There are some bodies that do have sergeant of arms that have weighted authority. I was doing some reading.
right, there's just,
But with that,
We were not gonna have something like.
right, I mean, that opens up, like, how are they selected, who
Right.
who
they
are
would
they
have to
accountable
be- They
to?
would have to be agreed by the
yeah,
body.
you have to
How
have
are they
a
trained?
job description of what the
Exactly,
duties are, too.
qualifications, they would have to be a trained parliamentarian
Right,
as much as, a moderator or the clerk, in order to understand what's happening. To understand, like, who is in violation.
So, I mean, by consensus, are we saying we don't need a Sergeant of Arms?
I don't think we do.
Agreed.
Okay.
You want to show of arms?
No, I got consensus and nobody disagreed.
And as far as the censure, the procedure is in Robert's rules.
Yes.
That's how you should address it to the RTM. That's what we're gonna follow.
And I would defer to the clerk on this, but just, as a synopsis of what I read in Robert's rules, it seems that, if there's a motion to censure, first, there has to be like some sort of small ad hoc committee formed to determine.
And the person who's been appointed as the offender should have an ability to explain themselves.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it says it in your rules.
Yeah. But
In the Robert's rules. Exactly.
but even just choosing the path forward, there's about 3 or 4 different variations.
Mhm.
So we would have to first determine the path that we're gonna take
Well,
and then proceed
right.
on the path.
So if the moderator makes a ruling that, you're out of order, please get back on topic or sit
Mhm.
down and the member still, disobeys the ruling,
Mhm.
then there's going to have to be a recess and exactly what you're saying. I mean, it's the only way you can deal with it because they're disrupting the meeting.
And who would be the body to determine the procedure, I guess?
The RTM, the whole body, who's there, whoever's there, you can't, you'd
It's not
have
something in there
you'd
about a
have-
2/3 vote.
you'd have a suggestion from your rules committee, whoever's there from the rules committee. And then the body would have to vote. Yeah, there's no one person, you all have a vote.
It's the most
I'm
comprehensive.
gonna bring up one other thing and it's related
I
to
mean,
this, so
that's
it's
what
not,
I would suggest.
it's
That's
not,
I agree, that seems reasonable.
Yeah, you can't just have one group make a decision.
this isn't an analogy, this is something I'm really bringing up.
Oh.
At 5:08, I have not had a chance to read it at all. We all got an email from Jen Zer. To me, that doesn't meet the timeline to discuss here tonight, because it's well over 2 pages. And I'm
Well,
not
it's
gonna
just
read
highlight,
it.
there's a little bit of highlights. It's not that much, but
No, I'm gonna say that between now and next month, we can read this, and if we wanna
have
come
another
back and
meeting.
meet again and talk about it, we can. I think. I just, I can't read something and really comprehend it and make any kind of,
Like a
Do you-
4,155
do you need to
page
discuss it, or you
bill.
just have to note that you received a communication?
yeah,
We don't have to discuss it. She's not a member of the committee, so.
well, she did ask us to consider it, but it
Well, we
was,
can read it.
But this
Well,
is
I'll read it
also a
between now and
special
next week.
meeting.
Yeah.
I'll read it before next week. How's that? And I'll wait,
Yeah.
I'll let Ian say it on the communications. I'm just kidding.
Your time limit?
Well, I always said that, if you can't get a meeting over with a couple things on an agenda, an
Yeah.
hour.
Yeah.
I think we've done
Then
it,
there's
folks.
something wrong.
Um,
I move we adjourn.
Oops,
is there a
yes, you did.
second?
Second.
All in favor of adjourn, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, extension,
She biz.
we're adjourned.
All right.
Okay,
6:34.
good night.
See, you can see there.